Hi there, everybody, and welcome to day 3. You did it again. You took a little time out, you invested a little time in you, and here you are. So, how does that feel to actually give a little bit of priority to yourself? Just half an hour a day, right? So, ask yourself, how does that really feel? Now, question is, have you done your workbook exercises? Because it's really important that you do those because everything I'm telling you, everything I'm saying is nice information, right? But it's the written work and the workbook that's going to make you apply it and that's going to start making a difference for you. So today is all about two big paradigms that a lot of us have, which are all about time and about money, money, money. So in the workbook, we're going to ask you quite a few questions, but one of the questions is, how many hours do you actually work? And by that, I mean not the amount of time necessarily that you're sitting at your desk, but also the amount of time that you're thinking about work, right? So how often do you think about work when you're trying to do something else? Maybe spend time with family, maybe you're in the gym. So how many hours is your mind occupied with work, right? And you'll probably find that that's quite a lot of hours. When I start working with clients and I ask them how many hours they work, they might say, oh, probably 50 hours a week. But when we start to add all the ad hoc checking of emails, the thoughts that we have about work, you're probably talking 60, 70, 80 hours, right? It's a lot of time. So another question for you. What are you exchanging your life for? And it might sound a really dramatic question, right? But seriously, think about that. Because what are you spending your time on? And what are you giving your time to? And is it worth it? Right? And again, it might sound dramatic, but every moment of our life, every minute that we're alive, we're closer to the end of our life, right? So, and especially when you get to a certain age, I'm like early 50s now, you start to think, well, okay, well, what life do I want to look back on? Right? So just give this some thought. So if you were at the end of your life and you could have the time back that you had spent doing stuff you didn't really want to do, the time you associated with people you didn't even really like, the amount of stressful hours you've worked for a company that probably only half appreciates you, how much time would that account for? And imagine that you had that time back and that you had actually spent that time doing what you wanted, right? And spending it with who you wanted to spend it with. So imagine you got the work life or the life work balance right. And that at the end of that time, that you had really spent that time with loved ones and that you had really spent it doing the things you actually wanted to do. That would be a way better way to look back at things, right? Now, the thing is that we're all intelligent people on this call, right? And so you probably wouldn't necessarily want to be sitting on a beach 365 days of the year sipping pina coladas, right? You probably start to get bored with that after a little while. So you do need to use that brain and you need to be challenged. But what if you could use your brain, feel challenged, and feel good at the same time, and be challenged in a way that makes you feel good and not have any stress, and have a really clear mind when you are with your loved ones? Right? I was talking to a client of mine the other day, and in the beginning, she was very much thinking about work, walking her little girl to school. And all the time she's thinking about work, and a lot of us do it, right? We take our kids somewhere and our mind is completely somewhere else. So what if we could really be present and not have that stress and be very clear that the time we spend with our loved ones and our family is that we are really there and we're really present? It'd be amazing, wouldn't it? So don't you think that it's time to shake things up a bit? Because a lot of people, you're waiting for the weekend or you're waiting to retire or you feel that you can't leave the job because you have a good retirement plan in place or maybe you have good healthcare. Right? So what if you weren't worried about that and you could actually just do whatever you wanted to do and live the life that you really want to live? The thing is that we sort of conditioned and we get used to a way. So we start to feel comfortable when we are in a certain environment, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's making us happy, right? So if you feel stressed and overwhelmed and overworked, you can start telling yourself a different story, right? So why don't you, when you start having those feelings, why don't you say to yourself, I have more than enough time to do everything I need to do and everything I want to do. In fact, write it down 10 times in the morning and write it down 10 times in the evening. And every time you feel that you are too busy or you don't have time, say that to yourself, right? Because remember, you choose your thoughts. Right? Yesterday, we talked about which side of the stick do you choose, and that your thoughts are creating your feelings and your beliefs and your paradigms, and those are making you act and behave in a certain way. And so when you start telling yourself the story that you have more than enough time to do everything, you'll start to feel very differently, and you'll start to act in a different way, which will then create more time for you, right? So if you want more insights on how to become more effective and productive, and find out about some good ways of creating more free time, then reach out anytime and we'll talk about that. Now then, the next massive paradigm most people have is about money. Now, do you love money or do you hate it? Or don't you know? Now, a lot of people say it's not about the money. But a lot of those same people also stay in a job that they don't really like, and they spend a lot of hours working because guess what? Because of the money, right? So it is about the money. How shameful, That's what we're conditioned, right? To it can't be about the money because money is not necessarily a good thing. But money can be a good thing. Again, it's a story that we're telling ourselves, right? And in a way, it actually isn't about the money because it's more about what we can do with the money, right? What the money allows us to do and the freedom it affords us, the freedom it gives us to do those things and the opportunity to help others and to support our loved ones. So here's a shocking question for you. How much money do you bring in every month? And what are you earning right now? Now, what were you earning a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago? Probably about the same, right? Give or take a few percentage points. Next shocking question, how much money have you got in your bank account? And has your balance looked around about the same for the last few years? Maybe you're always overdrawn. Maybe you're always hovering around the zero mark. Maybe there's always a certain amount in your bank. So it could be 10K or 50K or 100K or a million, whatever that is, but it tends to be about the same. So where is your comfortable point? Right? That should tell you actually where your comfortable point is. So when do you feel that you have enough? Or when do you feel that you have too little? Or when do you feel that you have too much? Now, my mum, she passed away a couple of years ago, but she always used to say that when she had more than £50,000, or I should say euros, because she lived in Holland, in the bank, she started to feel uncomfortable. And something would happen that would bring her back down to the 50K. Remember, this is what we talked about yesterday, wasn't it? The self-image. Okay, so drags you back down. Now, think about this. How much money do you want to have? And if you think about the lifestyle you really want to live, how much money would you need for that? So have a real think about that. Now, the thing is that you can have whatever you want. We again talked about that over the last couple of days, right? And you can have it because if you can imagine it, if you can have the idea, if you can imagine your ideal day, then you can have it. And the thing is that my clients, when you start to realize that, my clients, including myself, see massive increases. I've had one of my clients the other day, and she'd gone from 3K in the bank to 45K in the bank or something like that. And no, 75K, I should say, and then over 150K, all within the space of a few months, because she started to think differently. I did the same. I quadrupled my income over the last couple of years just because I started to have a different belief about money. See, the thing is that you're earning what you're earning and your bank balance is what your bank balance is because that is what you know how to earn. So you now know how to earn that. That's why you're earning it, right? You know you have a certain level of free time because you know how to carve out that free time. Now, we all know, and you know, that you're worth way more than you're earning at the moment. Right? And you know that it is possible for you to have way more free time than you're having at the moment. But the thing is that we just don't know how to do that right now. So the thing is that you already have all the knowledge that you need inside of you. You already know exactly what you need to do. And in fact, you know how to do it, right? But you just need to apply it. Because the person that's earning, I don't know, $1 million a year, thinks very differently to a person who earns 50 grand a year, right? And they think differently to someone who earns 10K a year. And they think differently to someone who's on benefits. Right? So the only difference between those people and you is the way that they think and the way that you think. Okay? And it's the same for money and it's the same for time. In fact, it is the same for everything. Everything is dependent on the story that you tell yourself, the belief systems, the paradigms that you're feeding. And of course, really important how you feel about money. So you think about money in a certain way, but then how do you feel about it? So what is money? Well, one of the things it is an exchange mechanism. So we use it because it's just easier to exchange that than it is to swap, I don't know, a dozen of eggs for a pound of goat's cheese, right? Or swap 10 cars for a mansion, or swap a horse for a holiday. It's just easier to use that as an exchange mechanism. And there's loads of money in the world, right? There's trillions of dollars, pounds, yens, euros, rupees, rands, trillions of all sorts of currencies. Loads of money out there. So why is it that some people have a lot of money and some people don't? Good question, right? Well, in the most part, that's because of how we feel about money, what we believe about money, and how we see ourselves, our self-image. So we talked about this yesterday, didn't we? Now, we drill into all of these things in a lot of detail, actually, in my Money Mindset course. So if you're interested in getting way, way deeper into this, then just message me and I'll connect with you. So what else is money? Well, money is an enabler, right? It allows you to pay your bills. It allows you to do some of the things that you want to do, maybe like going on holiday or buy clothes or maybe help out somebody else. And my mentor Bob would say that money is here to make you comfortable and to do good. And money is actually a form of energy. Right? And so really it has to flow. Now, the thing that money actually does is it magnifies things. Right? So it magnifies what already is. So if you're a mean person with more money, you can be meaner. If you're a generous person with more money, you can be more generous. Now, if there's a problem with any of your relationships, as soon as money comes into play, it starts to reveal the truth of that relationship and it starts to identify and bring to the surface underlying issues. So an example would be, and we've all, maybe we've been in this position ourselves or we've heard about this, that think of the amount of times that there is a number of siblings that are to receive an inheritance. And they start falling out over the money, right? But actually what they're falling out over is lots of other things. It's just the money that's bringing that to the surface. It's the money that's just showing the core state of that actual relationship. And the siblings have probably maybe been very good at sort of covering that up for a long time. Think about if you split up from a partner, and if there's money involved, and then how much of the fighting can go on because of that. I'm not saying that happens all the time, but it does happen a lot, right? As soon as money becomes involved, everything gets amplified and it just basically starts to show up all the underlying issues. And I have my own example of that. So I was in a toxic and abusive relationship for a few years. My ex, luckily now my ex, he borrowed money from me and it was £90,000. And then when we split up, he still owed me the £90,000 and a credit card debt. So what happened was that I was asking him to pay me back the money and he wouldn't. And then after a while, he said, I'll just pay you, an amount every week. So then sometimes he would and sometimes he wouldn't. And then when he didn't, I would be on the phone and asking him, you forgot to pay, you need to pay. And this went on for a while. And then at some point, not very long into, he hadn't paid me back very much at all. He just refused point blank to pay me back at all. So, he's basically left with 90K of my money. Now, that's really not very nice, of course, but actually what it did was it did show the real state of our relationship and why that wasn't working. Because he was controlling and I was the enabler, right? He didn't respect me and I didn't set my boundaries and I couldn't say no to anything. So it brings it all to the surface, right? Now, what actually then happened was that although, I had to say goodbye to my 90K, I did actually manage to change, well, one, my financial state, but, my mental and emotional situation, I was able to change very quickly, very drastically. And, the biggest thing for me with working with this material is that I now wake up feeling good every day. I feel like I've found my purpose. I'm helping people help themselves. I'm sharing this material with people and it's making massive differences in their life. And I absolutely love it, But what I've also done is I've bought my own house. I've done up the house. I drive a nice car. This year, I think I've been on 5 holidays and I'm paying for my son Connor to do his pilot training. So it's really, really possible. I absolutely know 100% that it is possible to change something if you really want to change it. And that if you follow the process and you follow the rules or the system, then it absolutely is going to happen for you. So I know that if I can change that, and remember, I came from the 90K loss of money, a toxic, abusive relationship. I had breast cancer. I'd been through the mill, really, and I've been depressed and anxious for a very, very long time. And really, very quickly, I turned that back around. So I know that if I can do it, I know that you can do it. And I just really don't want you to lose out on living the most amazing life that you can live, right? So, if you're ready to make that change, and it really doesn't matter what your current circumstances are at all, your current circumstances really are old news, right? So I would love to talk to you about, how you can make some of those shifts happen for you. And it doesn't have to be about money, right? It can be any area of your life, really. So I'll get off my soapbox now. So how do you feel about money, right? Do you hate it or do you love it? And maybe you always think that you never have enough money. It's never enough. Now, remember how we talked yesterday about the law of attraction and how your feelings attract things to you. So the way you feel about something is going to attract it to you, which is why, if we call it self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So if you start to think about something in a certain way, you start to maybe get worried about things, you adjust your behavior, and guess what? What you're worried about is going to happen. But it's not because it was going to happen, it's because you've attracted it to you because of the way you've started telling yourself the story and then the way that you started to act and behave. Remember yesterday, that little stick person? Okay, so your feelings attract things to you. So it's how you feel about money that's going to determine how much of it you're going to attract to you. Now think about it. If you thought about your friend the way that you think about money, would they be your friend? And if you treated your friend like you treat money, would they want to be anywhere near you, really? So because if you said to your friend, you're not enough, you're never good enough, how would they feel? They wouldn't be very happy, would they? And maybe if you try to keep your friend all to yourself and not share them with anybody else and say, you've got to stay with me, you're my friend, you've got to stay here. Now that would be a bit freaky, right? And your friend would probably not like that and probably would keep away from you, right? So guess what? If that's how you're feeling about money, what's money going to do? It ain't going to stay with you, is it? Now, there's, like I said, loads of money out there. And really, we just have to tap into the frequency of it. We've got to start teaching ourselves how to attract it. And to do that, you have to examine your beliefs about money. And you'll find that your beliefs about money are very deep-rooted. You probably don't even know that you have some of those beliefs, or you're not consciously aware of that, and that the beliefs that you hold about money currently are not conducive to getting much more of it. So this is where thinking into result training really comes into play, because it starts to really make a massive difference. So while you ponder that, go into your workbook and do those exercises, right? Really interesting to what comes out of that, and a really good way to start applying some of this information. So In the meantime, I want you to welcome money with open arms and set it free with a happy heart, right? And start listening to what you say, how you talk about money. So maybe change some of your language, tweak a little, some of the words that you're using. So instead of saying I'm spending money, say I'm investing money. So you say invest instead of spend, because the words mean very different things, right? When you invest something, you are expecting a return. So if you are investing money, you are expecting a return for that. And it could be, I am investing money in this pair of shoes. And then you look at your shoes and you go, wow, I love these shoes. I've invested my money in that and I'm really going to enjoy them, right? It feels way better, because when you say spend, most people will expect nothing in return. It feels like when you're spending something that you're losing something, right? So when you talk about money, invest it. Don't spend it, invest it. And every time you circulate money, think of how that money is going to help someone else, right? So what's that money going to do? Well, it's going to keep somebody in a job. And that means that they can pay their bills and they can do some of the things they want to do. So never feel bad about spending money. Always appreciate the fact that you can spend it because you're helping someone else. Now, maybe a bill would come in, and I know all over the world, energy costs have completely gone through the roof. So, when that bill comes in, you've got two choices. One of them is you can look at the bill and go, oh my God, I can't believe how much this is. It's ridiculous. It's way too much, way too expensive, all blah, 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 very negative, right? On the other hand, you could go, well, I am so appreciative that I have heating in my house and that I have hot water and that I can actually afford to pay this bill. And I have invested this money in my comfort because I would rather invest this money and be warm and have a nice hot shower and have a nice bath and have my family comfortable than not spend the money, right? So you've invested that money. So you never have to feel bad again about paying a bill because you're paying it because it's giving you something good. And every time you circulate money, say to it, and some of you will have heard this before because I love this, right? So say to the money, every time you're circulating it, every time you're investing it, say, thank you for spending time with me. I've had an amazing time. I look forward to seeing you again really soon. Now be sure to bring a lot of friends with you because they'll have a fabulous time with me. Guess what's going to happen? That money is going to go off, do good for somebody else, and come back and bring lots of friends. Great, right? Okay. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to take one of those, and this is also in your workbook, one of those negative beliefs that you hold about money, and ask yourself, where did that belief come from? Who told you that that was true? And then ask yourself, is it actually true? Is it really true? And you find, most likely, it is not true. But it's something that you've been conditioned to believe, and so you believe it. So reevaluate your belief, and you can start to tell yourself a different story. So that what you want to do is create a new belief, basically the polar opposite. So for instance, if you believe, for instance, that money is the root of all evil. Now, of course, you don't want to be evil, and so you're subconsciously blocking that money from coming to you because you're associating being rich, being wealthy with being evil. Not true, right? So if you start to explore that kind of thing, then turn something like that around and say, rather than say the money is root of all evil, say I can do so much good with money. It is the root of all good in this world. And remember, tell yourself that story over and over again, and you will start to believe it. Constant spaced repetition. Okay. So remember, as I said, to create a new belief, a new paradigm, you've got to keep repeating it. So write it down 10 times every day and say it to yourself every time you think of money. Say over and over and over again to yourself that positive statement, the positive statement. And seriously, be serious about this for a week and then watch what happens. Things will definitely change. So do it. Do it for the time. So, what does it say before? I have plenty of time to do all the things I need to do and all the things I want to do. So every time a lack feeling or a lack thought about time comes up, say that. Write it down, say that. And for money, write down the opposite of the belief that the negative belief that you have, because that'll be slightly different for everybody, right? Okay, so there's so much more to this, right? And what I just love is that my clients, because they decided to take this step and to engage with the process that is, it's proven and it absolutely works if you follow it, it has dramatically improved their life, right? In a very, very quick time, really. So if you want to make that significant and permanent change, then message me. And we'll have a discovery call. It's actually, it's completely free. There's no obligation. And it's very much like an initial coaching session. And you will walk away from that with, something to start working with to get you on your way to living your bigger and better life, right? So before we go today, I want you to close your eyes. If you can, if it's safe, close your eyes. Now imagine, well, first of all, actually take a deep breath, right? Because it's the end of the day for some of us, or the start of the day. And we need to relax a little bit. So take a deep breath in and breathe out and relax your shoulders. And do it again. Breathe in and relax your shoulders. Breathe out. Let the stresses go just for a little while. Now imagine that you have all the time and all the money you need to do whatever you want. How does that feel, knowing that you have all the time and all the money you will ever need? So maybe you feel relieved, maybe you feel free, maybe it feels like a weight lifted, maybe you feel lighthearted. What's that feeling that comes up when you know that you have all the time you need to do everything you want to do, and you have all the money you need to do everything you want to do? Now that feels good, right? And now think about, how would that benefit you? How would that benefit your family, your kids, your loved ones? So think about how that would be good for them too, not just for you, but for them too. And how does that feel? Maybe it feels grateful. Maybe you feel like you're adding value. Maybe you feel inspired. How does that feel? You have all the time and all the money to do. You have all the time and all the money that you need to do what you want. How does that feel for you and for your family? And I promise you can open your eyes again now. I promise you that can be your reality, right? I did it. And for sure, if I can do it, you can do it too. The only thing you have to do is tweak your thinking a little bit and become aware of how to do it. Now, that's all, right? You just have to become aware of how to do it. Because if you remember at the beginning of today's session, I said, the reason your life is as it is now, the money that's coming in that you're earning, the time that you have, the health that you're in, all of that is because you know how to do that, right? And all you have to do is become aware of how to do things that will get you to your goal. And it's really simple. So start thinking about that. Start seeing yourself as that person with your goal achieved. Okay. Reach out if you've got any questions. I'm just going to have a look and see if anybody's asked me any questions. Look. Okay, yeah, question. How can I work less hours and earn more money? Well, this is what I just said just before. This question came in a while ago, actually. This is your paradigm, right? This is your current belief system, your current frame of reference is the way that you're currently thinking, which is causing you to feel a certain way, to believe certain things, to behave and act in a certain way. That's giving you that reaction, and there you go with your results. And remember yesterday also we said, you just have to look outside, look at your results, and that will show you how you truly think about yourself in that particular area. So it's your paradigm currently dictating the hours that you work, the money that you earn, because you know how to do that. And what we do is show you how to change that paradigm permanently, and how to become that person that has more time and has more money, if that's what you want. Okay, well, that was the only question today. So I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, and we're going to have a deep dive into the law of attraction. And I'm really looking forward to it. So I wish you a wicked day. And remember, money is your friend. Treat it as such. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.